could have just gone to Lawrence, Kansas and done this. All right, fire away.
Hey, Coach, obviously you have an exhibition game Friday. Can you just update the health, kind of where things stand, and if those guys will be available or it'll be?
You know what? I don't think that we're going to be totally healthy yet. I don't want to, but Hunt's been out. Shaquille will be out, and Ryland did a hip flexor on Monday, and so he's probably doubtful. So that could be a different team playing. But the reality of it is, I really think they can all practice by Sunday, including Shaquille. So it's not all bad. It's probably going to be the healthiest we've been about 5 days from now.
Bill, is it going to be like a full exhibition game, or are you guys going to do like situational stuff?
I think we're going to play quarters, so that way nobody can foul out and we can reset fouls, I think. Because I think Arkansas may be beat up too a little bit. But I anticipate us playing most of the situations out of the quarters, but maybe have it be more of a practice type situation where coaches can actually walk around and show things on the floor and do some things. So a real game, I'm not anticipating, even though we'll keep score, but I'm not anticipating it being something that we probably both need to look at different combinations and stuff like that. And since I have a lot of guys out, it'll probably be good for us to see how different guys react in actual meaningful minutes.
Can you describe what this offseason was like for you, beginning with the end of last year and just maybe the motivation you had going into it?
I actually think we've had a good offseason. I think it's the portal and the general manager type role has actually energized me to an extent, because it's a world that I did not know, and I think it's been fun trying to get to know it and figure it out, which I haven't. And I'm sure a lot of coaches feel the same way. But with that being said, it probably adds more hours to everyone's day, because you're doing the same things you've always done, and now you have a different world than you've ever lived in. So it's been a busy off season, but it's been productive, and I've actually been kind of energized by it because we've had a little bit of success in it.
Did you expect that, or were there maybe some aspects of it that energized you more than you anticipated?
I don't know that I expected it, but I do think there's something to be said in a world where if you don't change, you're going to get run over, and then trying to figure some things out from scratch, I think has been fun, because if you're competitive, you want to put yourself in the best position all the time. And I know me personally, I could easily get frustrated with this, but I also think this, well, if I can figure this out and we can figure this out, our university and our program may be as good as it's ever been too. Now, we're not there yet, but I'm still hopeful that we can get to that point,
Bill, with 13 players, with 13 years of experience, with you guys on here today, in this transfer portal, how much does it help to have some strong nucleus of so much college basketball experience that everybody?
I think it's not the guaranteed formula for success, but I think in college basketball, how do you get old and stay old? If they're good players, and we were fortunate. Like, people talk about the portal that we got. Most important three things that we did this offseason was we had Juan, KJ, and Hunter come back. If they get a little bit better, each one of them, which they have, and then with the portal, I think you got a chance to have a pretty good roster and a pretty good team. So how do you get old and stay old is going to be important for everybody, and it's going to be easier to do that because of the portal. You maybe take less high school kids, take more kids out of the portal, and most of the kids in the portal will be, they're going to all be sophomores, juniors, seniors. So I like what we've done, but from an age standpoint, we got to be as old as anybody. Seems like everybody on our team is, 21 years old, which we haven't had that very often.
Coach, you said that things go right, this could be one of your better teams.
I think so.
Is there a team that maybe you kind of just remind you of the close to the past?
I think, Lynn, I think it's too early to say because I don't know exactly how our portal guys are really going to fit in at game point. I think they're going to be good players, but at game point, can you really see that being a group that can be down 7 on the road with 3 minutes left and still have a chance to come back and win? We'll get some knots put on our head, I would think, with our schedule, but there'll be positive things because I'll be honest with you, I really don't know. AJ is going to be really good, and he's playing I've got him thinking instead of reacting, and if he's a thinker, he's not going to be near as good. But until he gets to the point where he can react and not think, that may take some time. So, and that's the way it is with all these guys.
You mentioned the schedule. You were opposed to 20 games in this first product. Just now that it's on reality, what do you think about it? And not really having any breaks going on?
Yeah, I don't like the 20 at all. But hopefully it's not going to stay there. But I think the 20 is too much. I thought last year was too much. Maybe not too much if you don't play a competitive non-conference schedule. But when you play the schedule we're playing, that's the same as playing guys. A minimum of 26 out of your 31 games are league games, basically, that you have to win. When you count at Missouri, at Creighton, Michigan State, North Carolina, NC State, Duke. Those are games that are big games, and they carry the same value in the non-conference as what the league games do. So it's a lot. Those are 26 hard games.
What are your thoughts on the addition of Arizona joining Big 12? They've been a powerhouse program like Kansas has been. Just what are your thoughts on that story?
Well, I think we call it the four corners. Is that right? I think getting the four corners is going to be good for our league, all four across. But Arizona's been the most successful of the basketball teams, programs out of that league in recent memory. I think it's going to be great. We've only played Arizona that I can remember home and home back when Chase Budinger was one of their stars, if I'm not mistaken, and we split. They got us at their place pretty good, and we beat them in a great game at our place. But I think it'll definitely add attention to our league. I think they're a big bonus.
Coach, preseason number one last year. Felt like you put a lot of emphasis in that class, and the way that it ended. Was this more of a double down to make sure that the problem didn't rise again this year?
Yes, but we had 2 scholarships taken from us last year. We had an off-the-court incident. We had a season-ending injury to a first-team All-American. He was going to be first-team All-American. I mean, there were some things that happened that didn't fall our way. No excuses, but those things happen. So how do we make sure if you have bad things happen, they don't fall that far? Because there was a time last year that you could make a case that Kansas was probably as consistent and playing as well as anybody in the country. And there was a time last year you could say, oh my God, these guys have fallen off and not very good at all. And that, last 3 weeks of the season, that was basically us. So I just wanted to make sure that my goal was to have 8 starters. And I think that we've done pretty well getting us to that goal.
Is there anything that you're impressed with early as far as compared to last year's team or other teams that maybe your one this year is ahead of the game on?
I don't know that there is. I think that there's some days that I watch us and I say, got a chance. But there's other days that I watch us and I'm like going, well, if things don't go well, are we tough enough to actually win games where we get outplayed or things don't go well? And to be honest, I haven't seen that yet. So I think on paper it looks pretty good, but from a chemistry, from a performance standpoint, I think we can get there, but I don't think we're close to being there yet.
Bring it back, guys like AJ, Devon, just from a coaching perspective, they know your expectations. What's it like having those 2 guys back when you bring in so many new guys that can show what that expectation is?
Well, I think they both are great leaders. They do it different ways, but I think I said this earlier. That was the three most important things, getting KJ, Hunter, and Juan back. After you get those guys back, if you're able to recruit fairly well, you're going to have a pretty good team because those three guys are going to will you to be a good team. So I'm hoping they can will the other guys to see how we play here, which I don't think we've done yet. I think it's very easy for players to be great teammates until maybe the way we play and the roles that they have doesn't fit them the same way that they had envisioned it fitting them. I think that's one thing that makes the Chiefs the best, is no matter what, it seems like to me winning is more important than everything else, because they find a way to win every single way. That's what we have to get to. Can A.J. Storr be a prolific scorer at Wisconsin and come in and be our best defensive rebounder and standout defender? That's where we got to get to. And if we do those things, then this could be a really fun team to watch.
The exhibition, just how useful will it be to get the guys in a road environment that should be pretty enthusiastic even before the season begins?
That was why we did it. 19,000 people sold out, even though it may not be exactly, but just seeing exactly a game situation, but seeing how they react in those situations, I think will be very good. I think you'll be able to tell a lot about guys that feel like that maybe David Coit coming from Northern Illinois and playing a big game in that respective league on the road is a little bit different than what we'll see on Friday night.
Is that something you want to continue doing, playing those exhibitions on the road?
Probably depends on what the NCAA rules are. Be real candid with you, because can it be an NIL game that goes to rev share? Can it be different things? That'll probably be determined kind of how we schedule moving forward.
Coach, you said it'd be hard to keep Zeke on the starting lineup, but what has he done to deserve that?
Well, he's probably been our most consistent performer so far. I think he's a good shooter, good passer, good handler, smart, has feel, makes a game easier for others. Those are all pretty good reasons why a guy needs to play. And even though it's coach speak, but to media and to fans, it's not who finishes, it's who starts. And to coaches, it's not who starts, it's who finishes. But I see him being in both those scenarios right now.
Coach, you talk a lot about the Big 12 conference. A lot of people talk about how the best conference in the country with the new additions. How tough is this conference going to be? Every year you say I think the analytically, statistically, it's proven out to be the best league in the country in the last several years. And if it wasn't the best, it was always second. Last year was the best. I think that adding the four corners and particularly Arizona, at least on paper, from an appearance standpoint, you're like going, oh my God, 5 in the top 10. I mean, that's never happened. And who knows if all 5 teams will play to that level. But I'll bet you that's not what people say makes the league the best. What people say is we'll have 11 teams at some point in time this year all ranked. 11 different teams. That is what makes this league good. No off nights.
Flory at late night turned a lot of heads. A lot of fans are kind of talking about him. What do you expect from him this season? Do you think he could pair well with Hunter Dickinson? I think he'll right now he'll be a great backup to Hunter, and then hopefully get to the point where they play some together. But we haven't quite got there yet. But I think we can. Flory is he's a great prospect, and he's going to be really, really good. Some things he does exceptional. Some things he's got to get better at. But he's way ahead of where we thought he'd be at this stage.
Coach, you have a lot of really tough non-conference games. You play Michigan State in Atlanta, Duke in Vegas, Creighton. What are you most excited to see in those non-conference games?
Well, I think when you say in the first 2 weeks, or the second game Michigan State, second game North Carolina, third game Michigan State, and then Duke the next week, and then Creighton, NC State, and at Missouri. That's about as tough as anybody will play in the first 3-4 weeks of their season. So I think it'll tell us where we're at. I used to be really worried about, and I think all coaches are, the younger they are, they're probably worried more about record. And I think the older you get, you're worried more about experiences and how do you prepare yourself for down the road. And I think that if we were concerned about record, we probably wouldn't be doing that. So we're just going to try to get ourselves as ready as we can be.
Bill, how much does getting ready do you anticipate, particularly in the season, playing a lot of this depth to ensure that you have it later in the year?
Yeah, that's a great point too, because sometimes when you play a hard schedule, it's hard to play a lot of depth, especially young kids. But I've got to make myself do it. I've got to make Juan and KJ and Hunter's numbers be under 30 to give everybody. I got to do that. They'll be better, and I think we'll be better over time if we do that. Anybody else?
Since you brought it up, who will you start Friday?
I didn't bring up starting.
No, you said we care about starters.
Oh yeah, you do care about starters. Hey, Gary used to call me every game. We've won 20 in a row. Hey, who you starting next game? I mean, so every game back in the day. So I don't know, but I would say Juan and KJ and Zeke for sure. So we'll start 3 guys. My team's on the floor. We'll start 3 guys.
Something Tad Boyle said today was really interesting to me. He basically said nowadays it's easier to build a roster, but it's harder to build a program. What are just kind of your thoughts on that?
Well, it's much easier to build a roster. I mean, because in the past, there wouldn't be near as many kids in the portal because you got to sit out a year. So, and even if you went to recruit a kid to sit out a year, it doesn't help immediately. And kids now that they can leave immediately, you can replace and build a roster, but you're also going to be losing kids that in the past would be developmental type guys. So Tad's right on point there, in my opinion. I'd probably build a roster is easier. Building a team probably would be a more difficult challenge. You know, because in the past, in all of our best teams, you've had guys that have been in a program 2 or 3 years that have, set and waited, but they've been in the program for 2 or 3 years. The Travis Relifords, the Elijah Johnsons of the world, those guys were winners. Those guys were program guys. Even a Jalen Wilson, now those guys will be playing immediately, but they'll be from a different school that's never been involved in your program.
Do you think guys like DeJuan will kind of a dying breed in college basketball?
No, I think there's guys that aren't NBA players will still go to school and stay, but it has to be a great experience for them to stay. And if it's not a great experience, I think it's going to be much easier for kids to leave rather than say, you know what, I'm going to stick this out.
Allen have a better advantage before. Obviously, we know how much the advantage is, but with all new.
You know what? I don't know. I'll probably be able to tell you in the next couple of weeks. But the building's great. Lighting, sound system, scoreboard, paint, amenities, they did a great job with it. But it's still Allen Field. It wasn't compromised, so I still think it'll be a great home court.
You have so many guys that have heard coaching philosophies from other coaches, and then you get working with them. Is that a tougher task for you than teaching the guys that are coming out of high school?
Great. That's a great question. We talked about this yesterday. I think it's easier to get guys to fit in and buy into what you want as high school kids because they don't know. Whereas college kids, they can try to do it, but still yet, well, we guarded ball screens this way, or I've always done this, and we never worked on that. And even though they're not being defiant, it's still different for them. So I think sometimes high school kids is easier, to be honest.
Building off that, with the COVID year going away, do you think high school recruiting just kind of across the country will become more important?
Well, high school recruiting has never not been important, but it's taken more of a back seat in recent memory because I can go out and get a proven guy that scored 1,000 points in 2 years in college, or I can roll the dice on this high school kid that is a coin flip right now. So and the portal guys can be coin flips too. But I do think of all the people that have been hurt by the portal, the way it used to be, is probably high school recruiting. I think it's impacted them because what may be a really good sign 10 years ago, gosh dang, he can come in here and he knows that Aaron Miles is a junior, and he knows in 2 years he'll have a chance to study under him and then he can take over. I don't think that's how people look at it anymore. I think people look at it as, this guy's already played in big games and understands, and this high school kid, do we really know if he'll become what we think he can be? I think a lot of people will miss the boat, and not as many high school kids will be recruited at the level or the intensity they were 10 years ago.
There's a report that some recruits might get up to $3.5 million. Do you think that's exaggerated? And if it's not, are you really concerned about the future?
I don't know. I do think that depending on what you hear and what you believe can actually be backed after a lawsuit, I think it will level out. I do. But that's also not taking consideration of the player that doesn't receive what they believe their market value is, and taking that to court to see if in fact that can, because last year didn't we say that positively there was going to be a one-time transfer pool? Kids can transfer one time, and after that they have to sit a year, and that's held true for what, 3 months? So who knows how to be moving forward? But those are pretty big numbers, though.
Is that the most you've heard, Bill? Like $4 million for any one player? Is that the most you've just?
Oh, that's the most I've heard. Yeah, absolutely. Now I will tell you this though, I've heard rumors of more than that, but I don't know that that's just people planting a seed to get some reaction out of somebody or whatever. But I have I read some things, probably the same things that you read, and I'm not surprised by that though. The way the world is, it's a wild, wild west, and it will get back in there will be guardrails. We'll get it back at some point in time, but after we get it back, how will that stand up when it's actually challenged? I don't know.
I know you usually kind of joke that the NCAA doesn't care what you think, but what are some of those?
You're right. They don't. That's not a joke. That's a statement. That's a fact.
What are those guardrails that you kind of want to see in place within NIL?
I don't know. They say the rev share, and rev share is going to crush many athletic departments, as you guys know. Where's that money going to come from? How are you going to make that up? Well, you're going to hit your donors up. Well, you need donors for NIL. I mean, it's there's got to be something that we got to be creative. All schools need to be creative. They need to figure out ways to develop new income streams, new buckets that are soft cost to you, that maybe doesn't create more donor fatigue. There's a lot of different things going on with it, but I don't think it can withstand at the rate it's going. I think it's on steroids now. I think it will die down, simmer down at some point in time. But a lot of people think the rev share could do the trick. But if you have rev share and NIL on top of rev share, and then if it's true NIL, that's one thing. What about if it's not true NIL? What about if you can keep doing it the way you're doing it now? Then you're looking at causing athletic departments to even be more in debt or more painful moving forward. So it's a different world, and I'm not saying that it's not. I'm not saying it's all bad. It's not all bad. What I'm saying is there's got to be some way that we can at least keep it in some perspective in some way, shape, or form.
Has Hunter been able to practice since late night?
No, Hunter hadn't practiced since late night. But it's not, knock on wood, it's not anything that hopefully is going to keep him out more than a couple more days.
Footing, right?
Yeah, he sprained the bottom of his foot.
You talked about wanting to see AJ.
I'm sorry?
AJ,
Yeah.
talked about wanting to rebound, defend more. How do you feel like he's done that?
I think he's done some good things. I think AJ's done some really good things. He's a great kid. He wants to be coached. I think he's done some great things. I just think the things that I think are important, maybe not consistently what he thinks is important, going way back. Like to me, getting these, not AJ, but just getting guys in general to understand when they transferred in our situation, whether it be Zeke or whether it be AJ, for instance, leading scorer, well, none of them are going to be the leading scorer here. Hunter's going to be our leading scorer. So how do you adjust to that? How do you know when things aren't going great and the ball needs to move, maybe it's a time that we make sure that big fella gets a touch as opposed to me shooting the first open shot, that kind of stuff.
We've talked a little bit about, other people bringing the ball up, kind of alleviating that pressure off DeJuan. For KJ specifically, do you think having that in his mind will help him kind of rebound the ball?
That's what we're telling him. This is what you'd like doing better, more than anything else, isn't it? And he goes, yeah. Well, you're not going to do it unless you rebound it. So yeah. So we're hopeful. He's really good at that. Anybody else? Wow. Okay. Yeah. I don't even think we used our entire time limit. That's great.
If you were Steve Kerr, we'd ask you who you were going to vote for.
Yeah, you're not going to ask me.
We wouldn't do that to you.